Really happy to welcome you back for the idtalks, this fall edition. The fall edition of idtalks continues the spring edition, and we will be still focusing on very important question of mental health and mental health in youth work. This series of mental health in youth work idtalks are brought to you from SALTO Inclusion and Diversity Resource Center, and as well as Mental Health in Youth Work Snack. And I'm very happy that today, for the opening of our autumn season, Paavo is here with us, one of the main persons in the snack. And I would pass you the floor now, Paavo, to say some encouragement and welcoming words.
Yes, hello, my name is Paavo. I work in the Finnish National Agency of Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps. And all you have to know is that we are planning on creating different kind of training modules where if you work with young people in Europe, you can come over and learn how you can support the mental health of young people anywhere in Europe. So enjoy the idtalks.
Thank you very much, Paavo. Just maybe from my side to add that this is one of the 5 idtalks of this fall edition, and we will be focusing on different practices and different approaches and methodologies around mental health and well-being. And today, as the initial episode of our idtalks of this autumn starts, I am very happy to announce it. Today we are going to talk about participation in mental health. How can we address young people's mental health and well-being through participatory and democratic approaches? How important it is to have a role of being a part of something bigger, and how this is positively affecting your mental health, and how to increase the transparency about mental health and mental illness prevention at municipal level. This and much more today we will talk about with our guest speaker from Norway, Martine. Martine is already over 10 years a member of this huge organization, Youth Mental Health Norway, that has many branches at the local level, but she's the president of the organization at the national level. And her day-to-day work is filled up with representing the members and the organization in political processes, as well as creating the national events for members and seminars and summer camps and much more. Without further ado, I would like to present you Martina and pass her the floor. Martina, now it's all yours.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you for inviting me to speak for you all today, and thank you everyone who has attended. I am Martina, and as Anna read you my bio, I wanted to introduce me by answering these 2 questions. What have I learned, and why do I contribute? Because Youth Mental Health Norway has taught me a lot, but maybe one of the most important thing is who you are is not really a question of what you have done and what you haven't done, but it's more a question of your likes and your dislikes and what makes your eyes light up. And for me, that's I am a proud nerd, and I love some maths and systems and a spreadsheet that does exactly what it's meant to do. That's so lovely. And I'm also very interested in and fascinated by people. So as you could read in my bio, I am lucky enough to be the president of the NGO. But my first meeting with them was the summer camp of 2012. And this ended up being the first time that I held a speech from a stage in front of people. And the years after, all of the older people told me to you should try for the board. And I tried, and I got a spot, and now I'm the president. And this experience is always what I think about when I wonder why. I want to contribute to more young people getting safer spaces to explore their likes and their dislikes and to evolve. And that's what we try to do in the Youth Mental Health of Norway. So through this presentation, I will try to answer these questions that Anna also read for you. But I'm not sure if I know the answer. And I am just me, so bear with me. But I can promise you one thing: you will learn something about my NGO, and you maybe will learn something that you can bring home into your work with youth, or to your friend group where there are all the youths. I'll start by introducing my NGO, and I always say my NGO because I am a member. Youth Mental Health is a member-based NGO for all young people, because everyone has a mental health. But we try to reach out to and work especially with young people who are or have been struggling with mental illnesses, and young people who are relatives or close friends of those people who are struggling. But we're also from young people. We are an NGO in Norway that is fully democratical. It is young people who join as members, and these members decide everything. We have a structural build-up where the members in one area can go together and create a local chapter, and I'll talk more about those local chapters later. And then these local chapters send representatives to a big national meeting, like a general assembly. And this meeting decides everything about the NGO. It decides the NGO's goals, the budget, the politics, and they elect the national board that's going to run the NGO until the next meeting. In this way, it is the young people making the organization what it is. And we make our own services. That's what the from young people part is. Our purpose or our goal is that all children and young people should have the best possible mental health, and no one should be in such a difficult situation that death becomes the only way out. And I think this being the goal and the main purpose of the organization is one of the ways we address young people's mental health and well-being. To be able to reach this goal, we must ask our members what can be done to better young people's mental health in everything we do. How can we make it easier for the young people to budget an activity? And how can we make that budget something that's not making their mental health worse, but something that can give them a feeling of success and make their mental health better? And also, we need to look at the communities around us and the government and ask, how can our young people get another way out? And how can the experience our members have influence the government and this community to make it better for the next young people to come? When I talk about the organization, I often say we have 3 legs to stand on, or we can divide what we do into 3 main categories. It's the members and the service for them. And we, as an NGO, we need our members, and we give them some activity from a national level. We make some activities, but mostly we support our young people in making their own activities on a local level. And I'm coming back to this later. And then it's the politics or participation part. Most of the funding we get from the government is to be able to help our young people to participate in changing of the or involvement and makings of the healthcare system, and to make our young people able to contribute and participate in political processes and in involvement in development of new services. So a lot of what we do is this politics part, and I said that national meeting decides our politics, and it comes from the experiences of the young people. And I talk really short about that right after on the next slide. And then we have different projects, and the projects are a bigger way to solve our goal. It's both big projects that try to make the mental health better for every young person in Norway, and it's smaller projects that are more focused on these 6 young people that get a spot on this project. We're gonna make their days better. I'll talk a bit about all 3 of those legs, but I'll shortly start with the politics part and then go over to the members, which is maybe the most interesting. This part is about using our members' experiences to make changes for the better. So a big part of what we do is gather young people's experiences, and then we use them to influence. And first, about the gathering. It happens on that national meeting where members meet up and decide on our political documents. Before we have that meeting, we work on those political documents and like what should be changed, what have changed in the last 2 years. And then we have kind of small interviews with active members, and we make this little group of members that want to contribute to make changes to our political documents. Another way we gather experiences from young people is in preparation to speak, or in preparation to do an official like an article for the newspaper, or when the government on a national level asks us for our opinion. Then we, in those preparations, we have something as easy as a Facebook group, where we try and get all of our members into that Facebook group, and then we just ask, do you have experience with this and this kind of service? Do you want to share your experiences? And then we gather a lot of those experiences and write them to be something that can represent the whole of the NGO. And in the preparation to for this speech, I wanted to show you a story from one of our members that's coming later. Then I talked to him, and I Googled him to find the news articles that I know have been written about him and stuff. So that's how we do it, and we have also tried to do it a bit more systematical with making a big survey, and I'm coming back to that. And most often the activity, or most often our politics and our what we're supposed to mean and what we should work for making a change, most often that just appears through the activities that happens in a local chapter. For instance, we could be sitting around a table knitting, and then I share my frustration over the short opening hours of this healthcare service that the municipality is bragging about. They have this new service, and then someone in that group, okay, you have this frustration about the short opening hour. We see that the municipality is bragging about this. Maybe we should write a news article, or maybe we should talk to the municipality and say, hey, you can't actually be bragging about it when the opening hours are so short that no one can actually use it. And this is this kind of like taking that action, being that person who says, okay, let's do something about it. That's what we try to make in our members. So when we from a national level, we have seminars once for each region, once a year, and we also travel around and visit the local chapters. Then we try to bring them this mindset that it's really valuable. All of the experience that you have around there is really valuable, and it's also valuable for the municipality. And when you sit there in that knitting evening and you are really frustrated and someone tells you, well, that's really valuable, I want to listen, I want to use that, that gives you an understanding that you're an important part of this community, and that we need your opinions. And that's something about like what we how participation and user participation is like almost liquid throughout our whole NGO. Like we just do it, and then we try to talk to others and encourage others, and to actually take young people's opinion into consideration when they're making services for young people, and so on. And user participation is, if you haven't heard that expression before, is that the user of a service should be able to contribute in the development of that service. And a lot of we have in Norway, we have come a long way. That's a lot of the government and the healthcare system and welfare systems are thinking about this, and they want to listen to the users and to the young people. But a lot of places you have to really kind of fight the system in a way to be able to make them understand that if you're going to make a service for one group of people and you don't listen to that group of people, then that service won't be any good, and you will have to make it again. You have to remake it. But if you just listen to us and let us have a chance of telling you what's important in the development of this service. One thing we do in our politics and the political documents is we write it to the young people or for the young people. We don't write our political documents for the politicians or the leaders. We write it for the young people who are supposed to use it, because that also lowers the bar of taking that stand and being that young person going up to the politician. You can actually just read from the political documents, and it will be a good argument and a good this is our experience, this is what we know, here is an example of how it can be better. It's built up such a way that it should lower the bar for young people to bring that document with them and actually making that change. So that's one like concrete tips to how we get the young people to contribute. I wanted to really fast talk a bit about some numbers. In the spring of 2020, we made this survey that we called Status Ung, which means Status Young 2020. And we often get asked, how are young people doing? So we wanted to ask the real young people of today, how are you doing really? So we made this survey, and we asked on Instagram and on TikTok and on some high schools. We asked people like, your voice is important, and with your answer we can have more influence and make a difference. So will you please answer this to make a difference? And there were 5,518 young people answered. And we said that they were going to use like 15 minutes, and in reality, the average time they used to answer this was 28 minutes, because it was a lot of different questions and a lot of different topics. And that told us that young people want to contribute, and young people want to tell their story to help others not be a part of that statistics. So we did whatever we felt was right, which was we need to share this. So throughout the whole of 2022 and also a bit of 2023, we have been 3 or 4 people traveling around Norway and sharing this to healthcare professionals, to schools, to welfare, like social welfare employees and others who work with young people. And just like, this is how young people of today are, how they are. When we say young people, we stretch it a bit and go up to 36, and it's because of a lot of we see a lot of people in our NGO. They were really sick in their teenage or early 20s, so they have their teenage years again in their late 20s, early 30s, because they were really sick and didn't get to experience that teenage young people time. In this survey, we asked people from 16 to 36, but over half of the people answering were 16 to 19, and then 1/3 was 19 to 25. So the 26 to 36, it's only 1/4. Oh yeah, 1/4 was, yeah. So there is mostly the youngest young people that have answered. I'm gonna share 2 small questions that we asked. We ask, what do you do to feel better when you're not feeling so well? And we chose to keep this an open question, so not to make any assumptions about what young people do to feel better. And 3,882 out of the sample answered this question. And through the analysis, we can see that some answers are in the same category, or some categories are repeated by several. So as you can see, there are almost 10% of those answering talked about that they listen to music, and almost 10% like to talk to someone, and 7.5% like being with their friends, and 7.5% exercise or go for a walk. And it is this saying in the young peoples of today, it's this saying, and on Instagram and TikTok, like, my stupid walk for my stupid mental health. And that's because it's done a lot of science around, like, walking in nature could be good for your mental, or is good for your mental health. So a lot of people around the young people, a lot of adults say, well, have you tried going for a walk? What I want to say, and by showing this, is you can also try to say to the young people, well, I know that a lot of people feel better if they listen to music, or a lot of people feel better if they talk to someone. Have you tried this? So we don't always suggest going for that walk, but sometimes it's also a good suggestion. It's just to have more in your vocabulary, so to say. The other one I wanted to show you today was loneliness. Young people in Norway today feel very lonely, and we also saw throughout the pandemic and in Norway in 2020 and 2021, and also a big part of 22, a lot of social distancing and lockdowns were in part. So we saw an increase in loneliness among the young people due to, among other things, these social restrictions. And loneliness is associated with several negative outcomes related to mental health, such as reducing positive emotions, depression, suicide, and poor sleep quality. And findings from the survey indicate that over 4 out of 5 had felt lonely during the last 12 months. And over half of those young people have been quite a lot or very much bothered by the feeling of loneliness. And that's what's bothering me. It's the you can feel lonely during 12 months, but that you actually feel quite a lot or very much bothered by that feeling of loneliness. That's something that worries me a lot. And further in findings indicate that 40.2% often or very often miss someone to be with, and 35% often feel left out, and 37% often or very often feel isolated from others. And this, I want to show you this because this is also one, you could argue this is also one of the reasons we exist, and one of the reasons that we have our activities for our members. Because if you go back to that one leg that's the most important, which is our members, the main thing we do for our members is support them in creating local chapters, which are, when I speak about it, I speak about it as extended friend groups. It's a place where you can get that sense of belonging, and it's a place where you can meet others that understand, and you don't have to talk about everything that's hard. You can just meet up and do an activity or eat a dinner and enjoy, have a good moment in your everyday life. Right now, we have around 20 local chapters, and I try to mark them on the map, but you can't really see them. But there's one way up north, a lot in the west, and then some around Oslo, the capital. And when a local chapter is basically 3 young people wanting to do something together. And I think that's what makes it, or that's like most of the work that we do to try and make try and lift the focus on participation and on helping people understanding that they have value and that they can make something out of themselves, and yeah, all of that. I think one of the most important thing we do is making it as easy as possible to create a local chapter. And a local chapter it's 3 people wanting to do something together, and then from a national level we help with all of the technical. There are some papers you need to fill out to register. We help with that if you want help, and we come and visit because we want to get to know you as people, not because we want to control that you're doing it right, because we don't care, like, not that we don't care, but like, we are not there to control. We are more there to get to know these people because they are interesting and people to get to know. And we on the local chapter is also just members that just want more friends around the world or around the country. We have most of the local chapters, and what they do are something that they arrange something that we call meeting points. And meeting points, it's scheduled or fixed times to meet up and do something. It could be something creative, something political, or it's anything from board games to knitting, or some local chapters have school nights where they sit together and read for an exam. On top of this, some chapters often do other activities such as camping trips, or go to the movies, or celebrate some important days. For instance, they could have like a breakfast on a national day together, or celebrate New Year's Eve together, and so on. And as an NA, we provide them with some support and some tips. And among other things, we have this, we call it like the meeting point model. So we always share this model of if you follow these steps, then you have a great chance of succeeding. And the first thing in that model is, as I mentioned, scheduled or fixed time and place, like every Wednesday at 6. This creates a predictability and lowers the bar a bit for newcomers. You can like prepare to be ready for the next time or the time after that. And a lot of the chapters also have one contact person, and this in the chapter that they post on the Facebook events, they post this person and this person's telephone number, so you can call or text and then meet this one person first and then go together with them to the activity or to the meeting point, so that you don't have to meet all of the new people at once. The second thing that's in the model is food, because food is important in this kind of activities. If it's a board game or if it's a knitting night, if we have food on the table, then in some weird way, it's okay to just sit by the table and not feel like you have to contribute in the conversation that's going on. And no one looks weird at you for not contributing in that conversation if it's food on the table, because you could be just focusing on eating the food. And that also lowers the bar for like just joining in and being in the space without having to like contribute in the conversation if you don't want that. The third thing, and that's also one very important thing that we always talk about on our seminars, and try to like encourage the ones who are arranging the activity in the chapters to do, is to always have a task that you need to be done in hand, and ask new people to help you. Like, hey, do you want to help me cut up this fruit, or do you want to help me go and pick up the board games from downstairs where they're stored? Because being able to help in with one little task like that gives you the feeling that there is a need for me in this place and I can contribute to this community, and it makes it way more likely that those new people come back. Every local chapter also get a support person, which is like I'm the support person for the local chapter way up north and the local chapter in the middle of the country. And the reason I can be a support person for that local chapter is I have created a local chapter earlier. So I can always answer the question they have with, well, in my chapter, we did it like this. I don't know if it's right or not, but this is how we did it. Well, I would ask this person. And that's also lowers the bar for the young people to ask for help, because we just chat with other young people that have done this before or that are doing it right now. Some of the support people are a leader of their own local chapter and then support person for another local chapter. I wanted to tell you a bit about Lasse, real short. This is a picture from a news article in his local paper. And the headline says that Lasse 26 was a throw ball in the system. So like a ball that's thrown around. And now he is one of the people who's going to fix it. Lasse is, today he is a leader of a local chapter in West, but he started in the NGO 5 years ago, maybe. He came to a summer camp. By being in as a member in the NGO and being at the summer camp, he had a fire in his stomach and he wanted something to change. He had what you can read in the article, so I'll share it, is he had a lot of anxiety and panic attacks and felt like no system gave him any help or listened to him. And then he also felt like he had a good experience at their summer camp, So he wanted to be able to have that good experience at home. So we supported Lasse in making a local chapter because there were more members around him. And through that local chapter, because of the existence of a local chapter in that region, the healthcare systems started asking, hey, do you have any young people who can contribute in this participation in involvement in development of this healthcare system, or do you have any young people that can? So Lasse now, after some years, have joined in the regional healthcare, like a user participation board on a regional level of healthcare in where he's from, to be able to like fix the healthcare system that he felt didn't help for him, so that other young people that comes after him can get help. We like Youth Mental Health Norway isn't going to take all of the credit, but some of it is that part of, hey, I see you, I see that you have a fire in you, you want to change something. Well, there is a way of changing it. Just telling the young people that there is a way. You can always use your engagement and your fire for something, and then building on that, and let me help you find that way. And I am talking and talking and talking. I'm gonna this is actually where I was planning on. Yes. So I wanted to ask everyone that's in the room to think about one young person, and think about one young person that's around you. It could be a young person that you're working with, or it could be like your child, or a young person that you see on the bus often. Think about one young person in your life and write down 2 good things about them.
Yeah, and this is really a practical exercise. So don't think about it theoretically, but grab a pen, grab a paper, or anything else that you feel comfortable to write on, and just do it. I am going to use old-fashioned pen and paper.
Now you've gotten about 1 minute. It's maybe a bit too not enough time. Next challenge, tell them. Okay, next time you meet them, tell them. Now you got a bit more time to write if you didn't have it. So that's the challenge. I'm about to round up. Real short, our projects are different things that help to solve our goals. For instance, a help chat that helps all of the young people. And then we have some boxing project or some climbing projects that have groups of people, so they help maybe 10 people, maybe 5 people. We have had one project earlier that's called The Only Gay in the Village, and that's the actual name. It's not translated. Everything else has been translated so far. That is a science project where we looked into municipalities and if having a plan for healthcare for LGBT people actually makes a difference. It doesn't make a difference. And then our summer camp, which is like an activity for all of our members. So we have like different levels of activities. So in the end, I wanted to go over to like we practice what we preach, and a lot of things that we talk about is that you have to start the talk. And what's really hard also, it's starting the talk, like the openness around mental health and around how we're feeling. And everyone experiences ups and downs, and some may experience deeper valleys and perhaps higher peaks than others. And normally we do a lot of things to contribute to building our own mental health in our everyday lives without even realizing it. But when things get a bit more challenging, it's easy to forget. So when you're concerned about someone, it can be difficult to know what to do. And if you suspect that someone is struggling, the best thing to do is to have a conversation with them, even if it may feel intimidating. But waiting and hoping that they will come to you may result in losing of valuable time that should have been used seeking help. So talking to someone is often the first step you take when you wonder if someone is having a hard time. And there's one thing to remember is that if it's someone close to you that you're worried about, they may not be able to open up to you, and don't take it personally, because it's the closest ones that are the hardest to talk to. And we have developed 7 advices on what you should, that I would like to share with you. And it's 7 tips or like things to think about when you're having a hard conversation or a challenging conversation. And it's set aside plenty of time and ensure that no distraction arise. It is important that it feels safe, calm, and non-judgmental. Let them share as much or as little as they want, and let them lead the conversation and take as much time they need. Do not pressure them to tell you something that they are not ready to talk about. Opening up requires a lot of trust and strength, and you may be the first person that they choose to open up to. Do not attempt to diagnose or question what they are feeling. Most likely you are not a medical expert, and although you are willing to listen and support, remember that you're not a trained therapist, so try to avoid guessing what is wrong or suggesting a diagnosis. Ask open-ended question. Say, can you tell me a bit about how you're feeling, instead of, I can see that you're very depressed. Try to be open, non-judgmental, and have a neutral tone of voice. Give the person time to respond before firing off the next question. And listen. Listen to what they tell you. You may repeat what they say to ensure that you have understand it correctly. You do not have to agree with what they've been saying, but show that you understand how they feel and that you respect their feelings. Help. Offer to help them find places where they can seek professional support and help them figure out how to proceed. You can also offer to accompany them to the doctor or help them talk to another friend or family member, but try to let them decide for themselves without you taking control. And know your limits. Have boundaries. If you perceive the problem to be so serious that you believe that there may be an acute danger of life or health, then call like the emergency healthcare or like 911 or 133 or whatever that number is in your country. And be prepared. If you're going to gather up a lot of young people, then talk together. The ones who are arranging you as a youth worker, talk together about what ifs. What do we do if someone is in danger? What do we do? Do we have a support system behind me? We always do that on our summer camp. I know that I can take this talk because one of the boundaries I have is that I always have another more adult person behind me that I can turn and talk to after having this talk. And that's so important. And then we are going in, now you're gonna get to try a bit One thing that is like important, if you feel worried about someone, and especially when it's mental health, and it can be dangerous for life and health because of suicide. Suicide is a big problem in young people today, or it's happening a lot among young people today, and all of us really want to help, and we want to be there for the young people. But the only thing you can do to know for sure is to ask. And it's important that you know that it's not dangerous to ask. It could actually be really, I had some notes on this slide. For the one who is struggling, when you ask, and when you dare to ask, do you have thoughts about suicide? Or have you ever thought about taking your own life? Or do you have plans? By asking those questions, you show the person you're talking to that it's allowed to talk about in this setting, and that they don't need to stand in that dark and scary place alone. And you open up that door so that and show them that that you are a person that they can talk about this with, because it's when you are in that situation, it's really scary to know if there is someone you can talk to or not. And by asking the question, if you ask someone who is you have a bad feeling about them, but they haven't really been thinking about suicide or taking their own life, if you ask them directly, you're not giving them the idea. It's not dangerous, and that's science. That's been like, there is science behind that. So it's a lot safer to ask, but it's hard, and that's what I wanted to like challenge you to, or the practical thing that we're gonna be allowed to do today in this ID talk is to try and formalize those sentences. Have you thought about taking your own life? Or have you made plans of committing suicide? Because asking, that's what we always say also, is ask the question, but practice in front of the mirror, because it's really hard to ask that question and to actually say those words. So we wanted to divide you into groups, and then you're gonna be divided into groups of approximately 4 people. And then we want each of those 4 people to have a chance to ask the question of have you tried to, and you can use one of the other people's name if you want, or don't. Just try and say that sentence of have you tried to, have you thought about taking your own life, or have you thought about, or have you made plan to commit suicide?
If I can maybe intervene here, Martine.
Yes.
This is, you don't ask each other, but you practice asking this question in front of each other.
Yep.
And then also, because this is quite a sensitive topic, and for some of you maybe this is a little bit way too much out of your comfort zone to even try it, or to be present while somebody else is trying it. So let's put it like this, that when we invite you to the groups, you don't have to go to one, because you can always choose not to join a room. If this is a topic that is way out of your comfort, we understand that this is a big ask that we put here, but also a very important one, of course. So now when we split you into groups, the idea is that you try to imagine if you are in a situation when you feel like a young person might want to talk about this serious issue that he or she is facing, then how do you formulate, like, are you able to really formulate this sentence coming out of your mouth? And then this is not to ask each other, so we don't want in any way to put you in a position of answering this question, because this is not the purpose of that task.
And it's gonna feel weird, and even weirder because it's on Zoom. But by it's an opportunity to try and say those words out loud, because when you have tried to said it out loud, it might be less weird the next time when you need to ask those questions. And as Anna said, it's not about answering. So it's just ask and then next person ask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, also something that may be good to remember, that the Zoom rooms are not recorded. So if you don't feel like going into Zoom rooms, you can stay with us, with the team in the main room. And then when we come back after this short exercise, we would like to talk maybe just shortly about how it was for you. What are your takeaways from this little practice? Great. And we are still quite a big group, so this is also really good to know.
Yeah, I think it's nice if someone wants to share how it felt, then to open a bit, like raise your hand or write in the chat also could work.
Yes, for us, what was, I think, the most interesting was that, like I just read in the chat as well, we felt maybe it's an inappropriate question in this environment. So one of us was sitting in a cafe and she was like, I don't know if I want to say this question sitting in a cafe. And then, so we talked about how much it is a taboo to ask a question like that, or to talk about the topic. And then we all made the exercise of actually saying the whole sentence. No, have you ever thought about suicide? And we realized that there's a lot of fear connected to it. Also a sense of responsibility. If you ask the question, are you ready for the answer? And what comes with the answer? What do I have to do with it? Where ends my responsibility? Where can I seek help from others? What's the network that I have? So yeah, and then we also shared some experiences, because one of us had the experience of having worked several times with people that minimum in the past had been suicidal, and then that was also interesting to see. And we said, like, we always need to find a good balance between active listening and then trying to shift the mindset, maybe to a more positive way of seeing their own situation, or also of finding ways out of a toxic environment for the person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. Before somebody else takes the floor, I see there is a comment that Jose practiced it with his colleagues in the office, so not really online, but in real life, and they found it that was not right environment. So a little bit in the same line of thought, that maybe it's very important to have the right context and preparation before going into it. So thank you very much for you and your colleagues to willing to join into this conversation. And we have Anna and Henrik. I would ask you really to take maybe 1 minute per person to try to wrap it up. And if there are some more questions or comments, please feel free also to write in the comment in the chat bar.
Okay, so for me, I mean, I think it's really more easy if it's online, because I cannot see the faces and stuff. But for me, it feels like there is something that blocks your throat when you're about to say it. Like, I was thinking just to count 3, you know, like 1, 2, 3 and say it. Because I think it's a question that is really a taboo, as my colleagues say before. And I don't know, like, I think I had this thought in my mind to ask this question sometimes, but at the same time, it's really like the thing they were saying, like to know how you're gonna react if the answer is a yes in the moment, how you're gonna react, because nobody prepares us to confront the situation, no, for any of the both parts. But anyways, it's really interesting to make the exercise and the talk. So I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to be here.
And Henrik, please, Maria, if we can unmute.
Thank you. I think it's very strange to see like how for some people it's very hard to ask that questions. Like for me, I'm used to asking that questions because I've worked with youths for like 5 years now, and it's a normal question. And often of the times the youth come to me and say, "Hey Henrik, sometimes I think about killing myself." It's not I that have to ask them the question, but they come to me in a way.
Thank you for sharing. We have one more here in the chat. Claudia is saying that she is in the office and moved to a separate space for this, as would have been alarming for people to hear her say this without the context. So in the breakout room, she asked when she was alone. But once she moved in a room with someone else and talk about the things, yeah, it's strange to do it out loud, I imagine.
I think all of those who have been speaking and also telling in the chat also like makes a point out of, or like lights up the like those 7 the steps of like having the time and the tempo and the asking open question and listening. Like one of those things is also like, where are we taking this? Like having the time and not the interruptions. It's like maybe not at the cafe where you would ask and where you would take this whole conversation. And I also, what Anna said about like you almost get choked up and a bit scared of asking the question and 1, 2, 3 and jumping into it. That's also if you are in the context of now we have made this safe environment with these young people, and I'm scared of this, or like I think that this young people is thinking about this, and then imagine you being scared of trying to ask that question, then that afraidness also reflects on the way you ask it, and that young person might not answer. And then you were sat there thinking that they were in that situation, but you aren't able to because you're afraid of that word. And if you show that you're afraid of that word, then how can the young people be safe to speak about it with you? And there's also a big difference. I think it's important to mention. There's one thing is thinking about it, and one thing is having made the plans. And having some thoughts about taking your life could, I won't say it's normal, but it could be normal. Like sometimes in your life, and sometimes it could be okay to having thought about it. But when you go further and have made plans, that's where it's dangerous, and you need to call someone and need to get some assistance. So that's also important to know.
Jana and Sandra here are asking whether there is an alternative, how we can ask it in another way, because the word suicide itself has a negative connotation. Is it so necessary to use the word, or also is important to start the conversation around it?
I think it's if that is what you want to ask, and if that is what you want to know, or and that is what you are worried about, then you need to use that word. Because if you just ask like, are you feeling so low that you want to do something stupid, then something stupid can be to eat 2 pizzas. Because I'm struggling with food. So and that's a stupid example, but not really. Like I could answer, yes, I want to do something stupid because I want to take a walk out in the cold and I'm going to get a cold, and that's stupid. But I haven't been thinking about that stupid thing that is suicide that you mean by reformulating it. So if that's really what you're worried about, then you need to ask and use that word.
Yeah, I just want to let our participants know that the entire chat we will also pass to Martine later to just see what were your exact thoughts about it as well, because we will also produce a short article about generally this practice, maybe not so much focused on the last exercise, even though it is the bigger part of our conversation. But please, if you have any more ideas or thoughts or even resources, share them in the chat. And I think we can now take one last very short comment from Lud. I think I was trying to be.
I think there's also one hand that's raised, maybe.
Yeah, this one last hand, and then we start wrapping up.
Oh, I just wanted to say about what someone asked about how to ask people if they committed suicide, or they wanted to. I think that we need to. Well, I study psychology, so I have been like in this. So I think that it depends on the emergency of the person, because imagine someone that is very bad in their emotions or in their mental health, and us, like, for taking care about the word suicide, we don't ask correctly, and we don't know the maybe how much bad it's their mental health. We will let that like continue. If you don't ask directly, we don't know how much they are struggling with their mental health. So I think it depends so much if how we see the person, how we see that they are feeling, how we see that they are struggling, and then we can make a direct question, because we need to know the direct answer. And maybe you can also ask about them hurting themselves, if they have planned like hurting themselves, and that also can give you a clue of how much they are struggling with their mental health.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we are running out of time, and this was very important comment. There is one more really nice wrap up to this whole exercise in the chat bar. I want to read out for all of us and for Martine as well. It's really an invitation maybe for all of us to think ourselves, to reflect, why is it so hard for us to ask this question, and what is that is hindering us to really verbalize this ideas or thoughts. But yeah, thank you very much, Martine, for bringing this kind of a food for thought into the focus. And also thank you very much for very active audience. Before you go, I want to remind you about something that probably you forgot about. It is Olaja, and I think a very titanic work you have to do today to try to bring all these ideas and thoughts on canvas. So if you are ready, we would be happy to see what came out of this talk on your notes, visual notes.
Thank you, Anna. I should be sharing the visual notes. In my head, if I would have to summarize it now, then for me, it's kind of three main stages, let's say. So Martine shared with us what's their actions with Youth Mental Health Norway. So what is the context in which the organization works, how they are structured. And then together with that, we got to know quite a few good tips and tricks on how we can foster this participation of young people and the community building of young people that create these very important safe spaces where young people can not only express themselves, but also evolve and develop and feel better when there are some issues. And then in the last part of the talk, we got into a very big topic of how to start a conversation, how to address these difficult situations when we as youth workers or any other sort of professionals in contact with young people, we are concerned about their mental health. So what are these considerations to take always into account before we jump into, or before opening that question of the mental health issues? So thank you very much. The visual, as usual, will be enriched with final touches and then will be shared with everyone who sign up for the talks.
Thank you very much, Olaja. It's impressive as always. But now we have the moment for Martine to maybe bring her some final words and final thoughts before we close today's ID talk. So Martine, the floor is back to you if there is anything you would like to add or wrap up.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here and for contributing in that last little task that maybe was a bit hard. I think the most important I want to bring to you is like, talk to your young people about what they are good at and put the light on what they can do and support them in making their own services and their own activities, and tell them that they're listen to their bad experiences and tell them that they can use those experiences to good for others.
Thank you very much. With Martine's permission, maybe if you could add your contacts to the slides that you shared today with the audience, maybe a website of the organization or your professional email address, we would send this PowerPoint to the participants after the talk, and then they could contact you directly with more questions. This was really nice start of our autumn season, and I cannot wait for more every second Wednesday, 1 p.m. Central European time. But for today, thank you so much, Martine, for sharing your experience, your organization's amazing services. And I hope that this was something that we all can learn from and use in our own practice. See you in 2 weeks from today. Have a great rest of your day and rest of your week. Bye-bye.